experience.
They treat their clients like family, and their professionalism is the best in the business.
They made sure I got a great offer. Like a bulldog, they fought for me.
Well said, everyone. After any accident, remember, the bird is the word. Visit Goldberg and Osborne at 1-800-THE-EAGLE.com.
Don't let prostate cancer sideline you. Early detection can save lives. Talk to Arizona urology specialists about getting screened. Arizona Urology Specialists. Personal care for life's most personal issues. Visit ArizonaURO.com or call 602-887-2160.
You want a sub made the authentic Jersey way? You go to Jersey Mike's. You want a radio idea? You go to me. Like this. I'm a talking dog that only talks about Jersey Mike's. My owner says, "Hey, buddy." And I'm like, "Get me an authentic Jersey sub." He says, "That's all you ever think about." And I say, "No, I also think about teaching myself to drive the Jersey Mike's, but until I figure that out, you're all I have." Woof, woof. Made the authentic Jersey way since 1956. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable. Life is full of questions. Is the presentation ready for work tomorrow? Why is there so much traffic at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday? Are your in-laws visiting this weekend or next? You've got plenty of things to worry about. Whether your car will start shouldn't be one of them. With an outrageously dependable battery under your hood, you can cross one of those questions off your list, which gives you time to answer more things like,
"Are we there yet?"
Interstate Batteries, delivering the most trustworthy source of power to the world since 1952.
Hello, everybody. Eric Bryan, owner of Precision Air and Plumbing. Before you know it, the temperatures will be dropping into the 30s. Is your heating system ready? For a limited time, we're offering a heating tune-up for $59.95. Don't wait until the last minute. Make sure your heating system is up to the task of handling Arizona's cold desert weather. Call Precision Air and Plumbing today at 602-FIX-MY-AC.
Precision with Precision Air.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix. It's the lunch break.
A happy Wednesday, November 13th to you. It is the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. Thank you for joining us on your lunch break during our lunch break. We've got you for a 2-hour lunch break here today. We've got you until 1 o'clock on this Wednesday edition of the program. So welcome in. Make yourself at home. Enjoy your lunch. You want to join the conversation, you can do so. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. You can also join us on the YouTube side of things as well. Just search KDUS AM 1060 on YouTube, and you will get the video version of the show as well. A lot to get into here today on the Wednesday edition of the program. We will start with a basketball game that took place last night.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
You could tell. You could tell right away last night. NBA Cup action is back. You turn on the television screen and you see whatever it was that court for the Utah Jazz was. And I got to tell you, I don't really need these to be, I don't need them to make sense. They don't need to be logical. The chaos that these court designs are, that's enough for me. I know now that is an NBA Cup game when whatever throw up occurs on the court and colors are just all over the place and it's just random and whatever. I'm in. I am all in on this. And last night, the Phoenix Suns were all in as they defeat the Utah Jazz 120-118 to win their first NBA Cup game. The NBA Cup starting last night across the National Basketball Association, and the Suns start their group 1-0 with that 120-112 victory. And this felt like a game that could have been more for the Phoenix Suns. You saw the Suns break out a 15-point lead at the half, so not what we've seen from them recently, where they've been spotting some teams some early leads. It was them running out to the early lead. Bradley Beal was leading the way with 13 at the half. Booker had 12 at the half. It was what we said yesterday this could be, that these two could step up, Bradley Beal could step up, and that they could start the NBA Cup off with a victory and start this stretch that they're going to be without Kevin Durant. Nurkic is banged up. Beal's okay. But this important stretch, they could start it 4 games in a row on the road. They could start it in a big way. And I'll tell you, watching this game last night, and I was watching it with my fiance who did not know it was NBA Cup time. And I had the game on and she walked in and she goes, "What is going on the television screen?" I said, "NBA Cup." She goes, "Oh, okay." As if that made any sense to her. Then I had to explain it and she got on board. But I'm watching this game And this team had an opportunity to pull away in the third quarter. It was halftime, and we had softball last night, school softball game. So I went to that, got home. Dinner was a little chaotic, so we had the game on. It was a 15-point lead at halftime. I stepped away for a little bit. I said, you know what? I can just finish up some chores in the house. It's a 15-point lead at halftime. Things should be feeling good. And watching the game in the background, and I thought, okay, they're gonna run away with this. They're gonna just take care of business against a bad Utah Jazz team, and they're gonna be able to put this game into cruise control. And never really got there. It never really got to that point. And getting this game to cruise control would have been nice, considering the injuries that had been piling up recently for the Phoenix Suns, the fact that they are going to play their next 4 games on the road. There's a lot of travel. Anytime you can maybe get some guys some time off, some minutes off, is a bonus during a stretch like this. And they had a chance to do that in the third quarter, and they just didn't. And then they needed a 15-point fourth quarter from Devin Booker. He finished with 31. No Kevin Durant. He has chosen to step up and be the Devin Booker that we know he can be. And the Suns defeat the Jazz 120-112. In that first half, they took advantage of a team and the opponent that they were playing. The Jazz entered that game last night. I believe they were 2-7. They're now 2-8 after the loss last night. They're a team that's not playing good basketball. They're a team that could be had, right? You're supposed to go in there even without Kevin Durant, even with a banged up Yusuf Nurkic and a banged up Bradley Beal. You're supposed to go in there and win that game. You're supposed to dominate 4 quarters. You're supposed to, during this stretch where you're playing the Kings, who are playing good basketball. You've got the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are starting hot. Not as hot as maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers are in the Eastern Conference, but a team that is playing good basketball. The Timberwolves, the thorn in your side last year, and more than likely going to be a thorn in your side during your path in the Western Conference playoffs this year. This is supposed to be the one you have to have. This is supposed to be the one that you kind of put on cruise control. Now, they won the basketball game. Please do not take this opening segment here as a shot at the Phoenix Suns. They did take care of business. It just felt like this was the game that you circle on the calendar of, this can be a blowout. We can rest the starters late. We can get Devin Booker and Bradley Beal off their feet for some minutes in the second half. And that allows you to keep the tank full for those upcoming games. You felt that way in the first half. The second half was a bit of a different story. They never really took advantage of the Jazz leaving the door open. The Jazz were able to make this game close. I never really felt like the game was in doubt. It never really felt like the Suns were going to lose the game, but the Jazz did make it close. It got to 89-83. That was as close as it got at one point in the early stages of the fourth quarter. It was a 6-point lead, but that was about it. And the Suns pick up a victory. They start with a +8 in the point differential for the NBA Cup. If there are tiebreakers, the point differential is the first one. So the Suns start with a +8, but more importantly, they start with a victory, and they start their NBA Cup season with a 1-0 start by beating the Jazz last night. And here we are again, coming in here, starting a show, talking about the Phoenix Suns, and we are right back to discussing the injury report. We had a brief moment where it was, Bradley Beal's not on the injury report. Nurkic is questionable. Things are okay. I know Kevin Durant's going to miss 2 weeks, but things are okay. Things are not as bad as they could have been. It was a bad weekend, but it's okay. And we are just right back into potentially being in the pit of misery. We are just right back there. We're right back waiting to see if Bradley Beal, who left the game with calf tightness, if it's going to require him to miss some time. It certainly feels like they were just being incredibly cautious. You never want to have those tissue injuries like a calf, like a hamstring. You never want to push those, because then what could potentially be leaving a game early, maybe missing one game, turns into, if you play through it and you do something really bad, you have a calf strain, you're like Kevin Durant, you're out for 2 weeks, or maybe you tear something, you're out for a couple of months. You just cannot take those chances this early in the season. You just can't do it. And the team showed last night, even with Kevin Durant sidelined, they can beat up on teams like the Utah Jazz. They can win those basketball games. Devin Booker has that killer instinct in him, and he knows when it's go time. He knows when it's time to take over. You saw it in the fourth quarter last night with his 15 points. This team knows how to flip the switch. And so making sure that you have Bradley Beal healthy, if he feels like his calf's a little tight, if things don't feel great, do not push those things. Do not risk derailing your season. Do not risk destroying what has been an excellent start to this season for this team as they are now 9-2 to start the year, and they're right back at it very quickly with the Kings up next on the calendar. They play the Kings tonight. That game starts at 8 o'clock. Like we said, this stretch was going to be really important. You play an NBA Cup game here on a Tuesday, and it's right back at it here on a Wednesday, playing the Kings, and then you have a day off before you go to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder. This is the stretch for this team. And you want to make sure that Bradley Beal doesn't push it to a place where he's out for 6 weeks. This team in a three-way tie with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Golden State for the top seed. And by the way, the Warriors they're a problem. I thought we were over with them. I thought it was done. I thought they weren't a problem anymore. I thought Steph was getting older. He was just going to kind of ride out his career, just ride off into the sunset. They were going to be good, but they weren't going to. No. They might be a problem again. They might be a thorn. And, that's what happens when you miss opportunities like the Suns have in the past, because you write off the Golden State Warriors. Nope, here they are. Oklahoma City's a young team. Here they are. Here's Golden State. Here's Denver. Houston's a young team on the rise. Memphis is having a good start to the season. You haven't even gotten the Timberwolves in full effect. They're 6-5 to start the year. Mavs are 5-6, defending Western Conference. The Western Conference, it's just every single day. The more I see what is going on across the NBA, and the more I see who the Suns are playing on a nightly basis, if they are a top seed, if they earn one of the top 3 seeds or 4 seeds in the Western Conference, it is going to be the most earned thing this team has done in a really long time. It is going to be a thing that you just tip your cap and say, I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but you are a top 3 seed. You went through a gauntlet. And that gauntlet continues tonight when they take on the Sacramento Kings. Again, not a team I mentioned in all those other teams, but a team that is a thorn in the side in the Western Conference. And they're a team that's looking to bounce back from a disappointing season a year ago. Coming up on the other side, they are making it incredibly clear they are willing to eat the money. Will they be able to find a suitor? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Have you downloaded the KDUS AM 1060 skill for Alexa yet?
Food. Alexa is frustrated. No matter how many times do you ask, the answer is mail, chicken.
Once you're ready, say Alexa, open KDUS AM 1060 to listen to your favorite shows.
Here in Flagstaff, Arizona, there are only 2 colors that matter: blue and gold. Head coach Brian Wright leads NAU football into a new era.
Down the sideline, it's going to be a pick 6.
Join us Saturday. The Lumberjacks visit Greeley for a showdown versus the Northern Colorado Bears. Our coverage begins at 11 a.m.
NAU football on AM 1060 KDUS.
Not so lucky in Las Vegas. Escape to the largest 24-hour gaming resort in Laughlin, Nevada, where winners stay and play at Aquarius Casino Resort. On the banks of the scenic Colorado River, every stay at Aquarius is a winning experience with 15 Best Of awards. In hotel, gaming, and dining, our guests enjoy the beautiful Riverwalk, remarkably affordable room rates, and over $2 to $3 million in hand-paid jackpots each month. Will you be next? Book your stay at AquariusCasinoResort.com today.
Neon City Festival takes over downtown Las Vegas with art, food, and free performances by All-American Rejects, Alice in Wonderland, Neon Trees, Russell Dickerson, Seven Lions, and more. November 22nd through the 24th, visit NeonCityFestival.com.
There's just something about dipping chicken McNuggets in sweet and sour sauce that's blessed me. Something about them in creamy ranch that just sends me. But in spicy buffalo, delicious. And right now at McDonald's, I can dip all I want. Yup, spicy chicken McNuggets are back. I can grab a 20-piece order, regular or spicy, for just $6. I can even order and pay ahead in the McD app. There's just something about this deal that's worth dipping into. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
This fall, choose Primavera Online, and you'll be choosing a school with flexibility, personalized support, and an award-winning curriculum that's over 20 years strong. Now enrolling grades K to 12 at ChoosePrimavera.com.
We'll do what's best for the team, and we'll do what's best for you.
The Rich Eisen Show, coming to you weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. here on KDUS AM 1060 and KDUS1060.com.
Welcome back to the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. Make sure you download the KDUS 1060 app. your way to take the show with you anywhere you are. Take it with you on the go. Maybe you're not necessarily in the car for the entire lunch break. Well, you can take the show with you and join us via the app. You want to join the conversation here today, 480-864-1060 is the phone number. We continue to dive into the Arizona Diamondbacks and this offseason, and we're hearing a lot from the people themselves. Mike Hazen spoke yesterday and said something that's pretty interesting that we'll get into here, but also in hour number 2 of the program, we will talk about actual DH options for this team via free agency. And so we'll do that in hour number 2 of the program. But there are other people talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks, and it is the national voices that cover this sport. And importantly, it is the person that I think is the utmost authority right now in Major League Baseball. If you want to know about something, the way a team is thinking, who they might be interested in, you want the up-to-date news and rumors and stories about what's going on in Major League Baseball, you follow Jeff Passan. Jeff Passan is the person you follow. He is, personally, the best insider, I think, in any of the sports. And I know Schefter and Shams are incredibly good at what they do. I think Jeff does a fantastic job of covering the sport from a reporting perspective, analyzing the sport from an analyst perspective, and also has a personality that the sport desperately needs. And so I'm just a huge fan of Jeff Passan. So when he speaks, I listen. I pay attention to what he says. And he put out a story yesterday kind of giving an overview of where the market is right now. Free agent pitchers, free agent bats, trade candidates, just kind of a state of the market, if you will, right? Where we are as business is open. Teams can sign players. Travis d'Arnaud signed with the Angels yesterday. Man, the Angels, what a team they're going to be. They're signing guys. Kyle Hendricks went there. They've signed Travis d'Arnaud. They're going to win like 75 games at most, but boy, are they winning the early part of the offseason. They're just signing guys. I'm going to take every Kyle Hendricks game next season. I'm going to bet the over in the game because Kyle Hendricks is going to help me just because he's not a very good pitcher, but the Angels need somebody to eat innings. The Angels are winning the early parts of the offseason because they're the only team doing anything. So teams are open for business. You can make phone calls. You can sign free agents. The Juan Soto sweepstakes are underway this week. The Yankees, the Mets, I believe the Blue Jays, Red Sox are all meeting with Juan Soto in his camp in California this week. So there's some traction there. There's thoughts that could be done by as early as the winter meetings, which I believe start on December 9th. So we're waiting for that first domino to fall. And in this story, just buried there in the trade candidate section was Jeff Passan talking about left-handed pitcher for your Arizona Diamondbacks, Jordan Montgomery. And he said in that story that the Diamondbacks are looking to move on from Montgomery, and they are willing to eat some of the $22.5 million that is owed to him in order to do so. And we've said on the show before that if they are going to move him, that's the only way they're going to be able to move him. They're going to have to pay down a good portion of that money. Like $10 million is probably the minimum that they're going to have to pay down. They're going to have to eat close to half of the deal to be able to make Jordan Montgomery an attractive option to other teams. And so this is not a surprise that Jeff Passan is pointing this out. This is the low-risk move this team can make that frees up resources. Yesterday, I mentioned Mike Hazen spoke to media here in town. He went on another radio station, another radio show, and talked about how he expects that this team, payroll-wise, is going to be somewhere in the same area, plus or minus where they were this year. I got to be honest, I don't really know what to do with that information because he's basically hedged his bet that they're going to be around that number. He said plus or minus. So there's a world where it's more than the $175 million that they spent last year. There's also a world where it's less than the $175 million that it is last year. On this show, we've said before, I think it's going to be less. I don't think they're going to come in with a payroll more than last year. If they're able to go right up against 175, and I think that's fair for us to have this conversation, that it does provide a little bit of wiggle room. Right now, they have $106 million on the books. According to Spotrac, their arbitration and pre-arbitration numbers for players get that close to $144 million. So that leaves $31 million available to this team if they go to the 175 number. So that is up to what they were a year ago. And again, give or take, these are numbers that are not for public consumption, right? These are numbers that the teams don't reveal exactly what they spent to the dollar. This is people in the space putting it all together, adding it all up, trying to figure this stuff out with what's available to us in the CBA. And so these are rough drafts, but it's around $175 million is what they spent last year. And so they have around $31 million, give or take, for a first baseman, for a DH, for a high leverage relief pitcher. Those are the big ticket items. And again, in hour number 2 of the show, we're going to get into the DH side of this. So let's just look at Christian Walker for a second, and I'll tell you why it ties back into Jordan Montgomery here after I explain. According to Spotrac, Christian Walker's market value is in the 22 million AAV range. Now, you can structure the contract however you want. Maybe pay him less cash this year and pay him more cash down the road if cash is a concern. But from a cap perspective, from a tax perspective, doesn't matter how you structure it. If his annual average value is $22 million, that's what's going to count for the term of the contract against the books. So that's why that 31 million, if 22 of it, 25 of it's going to have to go to Christian Walker, it doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room. So that's why trading Jordan Montgomery and freeing up $12.5, $10 million, whatever the number ends up being, is so crucial. It just opens up being able to sign a DH. So we can talk about the break glass option of trading Zach Allen and moving the $14 million that he's projected to be owed in arbitration. That diminishes the 2025 team. They take a step backwards if Zach Allen is not a member of their rotation. Does anybody feel that moving on from Jordan Montgomery, and even though you have to pay half of the salary, him not being in your rotation, does that diminish your chances in 2025? Does it change your outlook for the team? No, it probably doesn't. That doesn't diminish the 2025 roster. It doesn't change the outlook. Moving on from Zach Allen, yes, it does free up the most resources, but it also comes at a cost of that's your number one starter that you're moving on from. Jordan Montgomery, I don't know if he would make this rotation right now if we were putting together the depth chart. I don't know if he would be the fifth starter. I don't know if he would be the fourth starter. So trading Jordan Montgomery is kind of the best of both worlds outcome, even though you have to pay some of it down. It doesn't diminish the 2025 roster in a real, true, meaningful way, but it also gives you immediate resources that you can add. And for a team, look, the Diamondbacks are not going to all of a sudden go crazy and go from paying the plus side of 175. They're not going to all of a sudden have a $200 million payroll next year. It's not happening. Could it come in at 180, 185 if a certain player or a certain situation comes up that the Diamondbacks just can't pass on? That feels like the plus side of what Mike Hazen said yesterday of plus or minus where they were a year ago. So you move Jordan Montgomery, you basically free up $10 million, $12.5 million, depending on how much of it you pay down. You don't really diminish your 2025 team, but you increase the resources to go out and address the shopping list that you have for 2025. Montgomery was not good last year, but at a discount, a team might say, you know what? The Diamondbacks pay $12.5 million of the $22.5 million, 1 year, $10 million for Jordan Montgomery. There might be a team out there that thinks they are the team that can fix Jordan Montgomery, that can get him back to the 2023 version. They might convince themselves that, hey, a full spring with a team, not having the free agency process drawn out, he's able to ramp up in the correct way. A team might see that and say, you know what, we'll take a 1 year flyer on Jordan Montgomery. If it doesn't work, we spent $10 million on a back of the rotation guy anyway. We knew going in what this was going to be. No risk there. And by the way, that's the sales pitch if the Diamondbacks choose to keep him and they don't trade him and they can't find a suitor. That's the same sales pitch. Full spring, full ramp up, not having to deal with the circus that is free agency. That's the positive case I would make for Jordan Montgomery being on this team next year. It's the exact same case that a team would use to acquire him at $10 million for next season. Now, what I found very interesting about this story from Jeff Passan is he mentions Jordan Montgomery and talks about the bad year that he has, but he provides a quote that I think is impactful. He says, quote, this is about Jordan Montgomery, quote, he's near the top of the list of players likeliest to get moved after a rough 2024. So what Jeff Passan is telling you is he's talking to teams across baseball. He's talking to agents. He's talking to executives. He is talking to those that are in the know. And he feels incredibly comfortable saying that there's going to be a market for Jordan Montgomery if the Diamondbacks pay this now. Teams are always looking to add cheap, reliable starting pitching. It doesn't have to be a sub-3 ERA frontline starter. Teams are always looking for innings eaters that can gobble up the backside of a rotation, that can be the fourth or fifth option and give you 175 to 185 innings and just be solid. And I am on record saying I don't think Jordan Montgomery, whether he's on this team or not next year, is going to have as bad of a year as he did last year. And so if you expect even a little bit of a bounce back, there is a positive there. So there's going to be a market. If the Diamondbacks truly are willing to eat the money and eat at least 50% of it, there will be a market for Jordan Montgomery. Now, I do have to throw some cold water on something because Jeff Passan also wrote up a little blurb about Roki Sasaki. And I've said on this show that I think the Diamondbacks will be in the mix. They will be a team that talks to Roki Sasaki, and they have the resources, and they just have to put the sales pitch together. Not great that in that story talking about Roki Sasaki, he didn't mention the Diamondbacks as one of the teams. Now, maybe they're a mystery team that evolves late, but again, Passan, very much in the know, didn't mention Roki Sasaki. A little bit of cold water on that front. But some positive news that there's probably going to be a decent market for Jordan Montgomery, and that the Diamondbacks are willing to pay down that money. That is a good thing. That would open the door for them to recoup some resources and a creative way for them to be able to make the 2025 roster better. Coming up on the other side, we are 10 games in. Which side of the ball has been the most impressive for the Arizona Cardinals, the offense or the defense? We'll answer that next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
James Out West brings NFL, NBA, MLB, and local sports talk to you Monday night starting at 7 on KDUS AM 1060 and the KDUS 1060 app.
Already? I'll be right there. It's happening.
Take I-10 west. You are on the fastest route. Mom says, OMG, I'll let everyone know. You have arrived.
Honey, I'm right here.
She's doing great. We're almost there.
She's perfect. Hey, baby girl. The whole world can't wait to meet you.
More coverage for life's most important moments. Rethink AT&T. Learn how to get the best price in the Valley for an unlimited wireless connection. $20 a month for 4 lines. Comparison based on lowest price for 4 lines of postpaid service on T-Mobile and Verizon compared to AT&T Value plus VL with purchase of smartphone on installment plan as of 6/17/24. Coverage not available everywhere based on area LTE coverage and third-party data. AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Limited time. Taxes and fees extra. Other restrictions apply.
The Mitsubishi Year-End Sales Event is going on now at Scottsdale Mitsubishi. Right now, you can receive 0.99% APR for up to 60 months on the 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander and Outlander Plug-in Hybrid. That's right, 0.99% for full 60 months and 90 days no payment.
And bring down your trade to receive up to $1,000 trade-in bonus cash on select models. Come see why Scottsdale Mitsubishi is your official inflation-fighting dealership. The name to remember, Scottsdale Mitsubishi, Scottsdale Mitsubishi.
Another Mark Auto Group dealership.
Exciting news from the Window Depot. Their brand new location is now open near Cave Creek and Bell Road. Discover the largest selection of vinyl windows, doors, cabinets, skylights, countertops, and more. Planning a remodel? Their experts are here to make your vision a reality with exclusive special order options and a wide selection of in-stock inventory available to go home today. For the best price and the biggest inventory, visit one of their 3 Valley locations or shop online at thewindowdepot.com. The Window Depot, more than a window store.
Hello, everybody. Eric Bryan, owner of Precision Air and Plumbing. Last year, I warned you that AC prices were on the rise due to new regulations, and that's exactly what happened. In January of 25, we'll see much of the same, but don't sweat it. If you call Precision, we're offering $3,500 off any new AC unit, but this deal won't last long, so act fast. Make the Precision decision today and call us at 602-FIX-MY-AC.
Precision decision with Precision Air.
You hear it all the time. Lawyers talk about all their experience, many years of experience with insurance companies, and experience in the courtroom. But what they're not talking about is their results. Maybe they don't have any. At Lerner & Rowe, we're proud of our results because that's how we measure our success. We've helped over 150,000 people recover billions of dollars for their injuries, with over $1 billion just in the last 5 years alone. When you want results, call Lerner & Rowe.
Lerner & Rowe is the way to go. Call 977-1900.
Carving out time in your afternoon for the Doug Gottlieb Show right here on KDUS AM 1060, 100.7 HD2, and KDUS1060.com. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Welcome back to the program, The Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. We appreciate you joining us here today on this Wednesday edition of the program. Chris Schubert here with you. Got you until 1 o'clock today here on the show. Already have gotten into a lot here in the first half hour. Just feel like we've been shot out of a cannon on a Wednesday. Normally Wednesday, not the day where there's a lot to dive into. 1 week in the NFL is kind of ending. The other week hasn't necessarily begun until tomorrow, but there's a lot going on for us to discuss. The MLB offseason certainly providing us a nice backdrop here today on the show. But the Cardinals on a bye this week, still worth discussing because we are 10 games into this season for this team. They're 6-4. They're holding on to first place. They're playing some of the best football that they've played in a really long time here. And I think it's legitimate to have a conversation of which side of the ball has been more impressive, the offense or the defense. Which side of the ball has played better over these first 10 games? Is it an offense that we mentioned yesterday has been a top 5 group over the last month? Is it a defense that hasn't allowed a touchdown at home since September? And by the way, they played 3 home games in that span. It's not like they just played one game. They played 3 home games and have not allowed a touchdown at home over that stretch. All field goals. Got to go back to September for the last time they've given up a touchdown at home. You've got Kyler Murray rising up the betting markets for MVP, for comeback player of the year, was announced earlier today as the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 10. So the accolades are just in spades for Kyler Murray. I think the best way for us to tackle this question of who's had the better 10-game stretch is to get in the time machine and go back and look at what the expectations were for both of these groups. What were the expectations for the offense entering the year? What were the expectations for the defense going into this year? Well, the offense, we'll start there, was supposed to be the strength of this team. Was supposed to be the leader of this team. This was the group that if you were talking about the Arizona Cardinals in the summer, you felt the most confident in. This was the group that had the most talent on it. This was the group that was supposed to keep the team afloat while they work things out defensively. It was going to keep them in games. It was going to be the reason why they won games, because their offense would be able to put up points to where if the defense got into some shootouts, the offense and Kyler Murray would be able to hold up their end of the bargain. You had Kyler Murray, you had James Conner, you had Trey McBride, you had Paris Johnson Jr. as the building blocks. You had a quarterback, you had a big pass catching option, you had your left tackle, you had James Conner, who we've talked about is the energy, is the culture of this team. And then you had Jonah Williams, you had Zay Jones, you had Marvin Harrison Jr. Those were the new additions that would take that group, those building blocks, to a better place, would fill out some of the holes that this team had. That was what the offense was in the summertime. And that group, with those established players, those established veterans, the young players like Paris Johnson Jr., who had impressive rookie seasons, along with a free agent acquisition in Jonah Williams, a first-round pick in Marvin Harrison Jr., who was supposed to be your explosive number 1 pass catcher and playmaker. The offense felt like the strength of this team. It felt like the group that you didn't have a lot of question marks about. You didn't have a lot of concerns about. The defense, this is where all the question marks come in. This is where all of the doubt surrounded the 2024 Arizona Cardinals. It wasn't for a lack of investment. They invested in the offseason. They spent big free agent dollars because they had big free agent dollars. They got players for the interior of their defense. They wanted to be able to stuff the run game of the San Francisco 49ers and stuff the run game of the Los Angeles Rams and stuff the run game of the Seattle Seahawks. They're 3 divisional opponents, all teams that can run the football extremely well. They invested on their defensive line to get quality veteran players at that spot. They went out and signed a corner in Sean Murphy-Bunting. They spent money. We can debate whether or not those investments were good. We can debate whether or not those investments have panned out, but the investment was there because that side of the ball had more holes. That side of the ball needed the heavy investment. That side of the ball needed some extra love. There were so many holes on this defense. The cupboard was bare defensively. Now, the problem with a cupboard that was bare, the problem with having so many holes is you can't really address them all. No matter what cap space you have, you can't really address every single hole. So then what did they do? They took one of their fancy first-round draft picks, and they said, we're also going to add in the draft for the defense. We're going to add Darius Robinson. We're going to add pass rush help. Was our biggest problem in 2023, 2024. Needed consistency in getting after the quarterback. Let's invest in a guy like Darius Robinson. Motor, good character, fits the culture of this team. That's what we're going to do with one of our 2 first-round picks. I am not asking you this next question to poke fun, but when is the last time that you have looked at the Cardinals depth chart? When is the last time that you have looked at the injury list for the Arizona Cardinals? Darius Robinson banged up. Jalen Thompson banged up. Those are players who aren't under, if you go to Our Lads and look at the Cardinals depth chart, those are players that are just tagged in red that says injured, inactive. Those aren't even players that are on injured reserve. I'm going to get to those players. Hopefully I have enough time left in the segment because the list is pretty long. Bilal Nichols on IR. Dennis Gardeck on IR. BJ Ojolari on IR. Justin Jones on IR. Angelo Blackson on IR. Those are just the defensive players that are on injured reserve for this Arizona Cardinal team. Dennis Gardeck, lost for the season. BJ Ojolari, lost before the season even began. Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones, Angelo Blackson, the interior of your defensive line, the group that you spent money on to try to fix, to try to beef up. 3 injuries there. An absolute disaster. Not their fault, but it was a disaster. It was a dumpster fire. So a defense that had to make all those investments, a defense that has been hit with injury after injury after injury, you know where they are? Middle of the road. They're 13th in points per game. They're 21st in yards per game as a defense. And please, do not take me calling them a middle of the road defense statistically as a knock. I am not trying to speak poorly of this Cardinal team. In fact, them being middle of the road, in fact, them being 13th in points per game, in fact, them doing what they have done for the last month is incredibly impressive. It should not happen. They're a middle-of-the-road pass defense. I looked at it this morning just to make sure nothing immediately stood out to me. They're just, you look at points per game, yards per play, pass defense, rush. It's just all, 13, 16, 18, 21st. They don't rank in the top 5 of really anything defensively. And that's okay. They're not supposed to with the talent that they have and with the talent that is on injured reserve. They're not supposed to be an elite group. The last month, specifically at home, they have been. So they're a middle-of-the-road pass defense statistically, a middle-of-the-road run defense statistically. But that's okay. Because middle of the road feels like it's an elite group. It feels like it's a top 5 defense in the NFL. Because when you consider where this team started the year, talent-wise and depth-wise, and where they currently are in Week 10, if I told you what happened, and I said, tell me the record of the Arizona Cardinals, you would not be saying 6-4. You would not be talking about a team that is middle of the road. You want to talk about the recent run that this team has been on? I saw a stat today, and I was actually pulling it up while I was talking. The Arizona Cardinals over the last 4 weeks are number 1 in defensive explosive play rates. What does that mean? They don't give up big plays running the football. You want to run the football against the Arizona Cardinals? Good luck. You're not getting explosive plays of 15 plus or more. They're number 1. Over the last 4 weeks, they're 11th in passing explosive play rate, meaning you don't get a lot of 15 plus yard plays passing the ball against them. Over the last 4 weeks, they are 4th in total defensive explosive play rate. So I would like to correct my previous statement. There is one thing that they are top 5 in over the last month or so, and it is that they do not give up big plays. They are the true bend but don't break defense. Because for the year in all those numbers, so the last 4 weeks, 4th in total
defensive explosive play rate, first on the rushing side, 11th on the passing side. For the season, they're 10th total, 13th rushing, 13th passing. They're playing out of their minds over the last month. A true bend but don't break, next man up defense. That is what this group has been recently. 2 major pass rushers gone from this group in Dennis Gardeck and BJ Ojulari. Gone. Not coming back this season. Interior of your defensive line, completely shattered. And they have been able to put up those type of numbers. They have been able to limit the big plays. So you might be able to dink and dunk and kind of 4 yards here, 5 yards, and just work your way down the field. You're not getting a big play on this defense, not recently. That is a credit to this coaching staff. It is a credit to these players, and I'm hopeful that you can make it that it's particularly obvious to you which side of the ball has been more impressive over the first 10 weeks of the season. It's the group that going into the year was the question mark. It's the group that going into the year had a depth problem and had a talent problem. It's the group that during the year lost that talent and depth that they had. And it is the group that over the last month has been one of the best defenses in football. It is unequivocally the best defense at limiting big plays over the last month. And oh, by the way, over that month, Caleb Williams and the Bears. I know they just fired their offensive coordinator, but Caleb Williams is no slouch. Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame quarterback. Justin Herbert, having a career resurgence. Tua in his first game back with that Miami. Those are the 4 teams that they played. They didn't play Tennessee. They didn't play New England. They didn't play the Giants. They didn't play the Panthers. They played those 4 teams. Maybe you have a kick coming. Maybe you can tell me that it's not real who they played. But you don't have a kick coming when those are the teams that they played. Those are the quarterbacks that they've been able to do it against. And so unequivocally, slam dunk, no doubt for me. The defense has been the more impressive group because they are not supposed to be doing this. They are not supposed to be putting up these types of numbers. So through 10 weeks, you tip your cap to Jonathan Gannon. You tip your cap to this defense because they have been playing out of their minds, specifically over the last month. Coming up on the other side, we play a Wednesday edition of Off the Fence, and it's about Kyler Murray. We'll do it next. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Listener rewards for you with the KDUS 1060 app. Download today to hear all of the national and local shows you love. That's the KDUS 1060 app.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply.
Every day, safe, prepared, informed. Every day, safety is our top priority. At APS, we consistently make updates to our electrical system to keep our crews and customers safe around electricity. Remember these tips. Put safety covers on wall outlets. Call 811 before you dig to have the location of underground wires marked. And stay at least 100 feet away from downed power lines. For more ways to stay safe around electricity, visit aps.com/brighter.
Deftones. North American Tour 2025, live in Phoenix. Footprint Center, March 9th. With special guests, the Mars Volta and Fleshwater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Presented by the Big Red Radio.
Looking to sell your home? Hi, I'm Andrew the Home Buyer, and I love making it easy to sell your house. I'll personally come and give you a cash offer the same day we meet, and I'll beat any other offer. It really is that easy to sell your home, and no need to clean or fix anything. I'll buy it in as-is condition. Call me, Andrew the Home Buyer, today to get your same-day cash offer. Visit andrewthehomebuyer.com.
Have you downloaded the KDUS 1060 app yet? Download today and get all of your favorite local and national shows right on your phone.
Welcome back to the program, The Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. We appreciate you joining us here today on the program. Make sure you download the KDUS 1060 app today so that you can take the show, you can take the station with you wherever you are, and you are able to go back and listen to all of the old episodes of the show. You can do that by podcasting the show. Just search The Lunch Break wherever you get your podcast. We're hopeful to be getting that up on the app as well, so you can just listen there if you missed anything on the program. You want to join the show today, do so 480-864-1060. That is the phone number to join the conversation here today on a Wednesday. And I got to tell you, it doesn't feel like a Wednesday. Normally I walk into the building and I know that it's a Wednesday because producer Dylan is here. Producer Dylan is here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then I got producer Corey on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so I know that if I walk in the building and Corey's not here, I go, it's Wednesday. And listen, we're amongst friends here, everybody. Okay, we can talk about this. You're on your lunch break right now. I'm on my lunch break here, even though I'm not actually eating lunch. We can be honest with each other. We can have this conversation real quick. Sometimes at work, you're waiting for the week to be over. And Wednesday's normally the day that it hits. Wednesday's normally the day when you're like, man, I got 2 more days. I have 2 more days of work to do here. And so Wednesday's normally where it's like, okay, we got to push through. I have not felt like today has been a Wednesday at all. That's exciting. That means there's a lot going on. There's a lot to get into. There's a lot to have takes about. There's a lot to discuss. I'm very well aware. I'm very lucky to be doing this job. But sometimes Wednesday, I am the first person to raise my hand and say Wednesday, one of the harder shows to put together. There's no football to react to. There's not a football game coming up that we can preview on the show. So it's just different. The Wednesday show, one of the harder ones to put together. And I have not felt like it has been a Wednesday at all. So that is thanks to the Suns being good and giving us a lot to talk about, the Cardinals being in first place and even on a bye week having a lot to discuss, the Diamondbacks and the MLB offseason kicking off and getting started. So appreciate all of those sports giving us a lot to discuss here on a Wednesday edition of the program. And on Wednesdays, we put me in a bit of an interesting situation because we forced me to pick a side. We sometimes in sports radio, we like to hedge a little bit. We like to put some caveats out there. We like to give ourselves an out on a take. We like to give ourselves the ability to say, no, we weren't wrong. I'm always right. All of my takes are perfect. All of my takes are correct. I don't ever have a bad take. Well, this segment forces me to basically put myself in a corner where there's probably a bad take or two coming out of this. And we need to go back and revisit some of the earlier off the fences because I know we did one about NFL playoff teams and whether or not I thought teams were going to make the playoffs. And I'm pretty sure I was all the way out on the Cardinals. That has aged poorly. I was all the way in on the Bears. That has aged poorly. So we'll have to go back and see how well that is going for me because it's not. And so that's the fun part of this segment. It is called Off the Fence, and it forces me to pick a side.
Nobody likes a fence sitter.
The question is what choice?
So, Chris, can you pick a side
Well, you don't really have a choice.
and get off the fence?
Excellent choice.
Yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get off the fence. We're going to pick a side. And every week after the NFL season, The Athletic does their quarterback rankings, their power rankings for quarterbacks. And it's fluid and it changes every single week. And I constantly look to see where Kyler Murray ends up on these rankings. And I thought it would be interesting to take where Kyler Murray is on the standings, look at the 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are directly in front of him, look at the 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are directly behind him, and definitively say this season, Kyler Murray, better than or worse than these quarterbacks. Now, I'm not going to tell you until the end of the segment where these players are in the quarterback power rankings in comparison to Kyler Murray, so you can actually play along if you haven't seen the story. You can try to figure out where Kyler Murray should be in this group of quarterbacks. And we will start with Jayden Daniels, rookie sensation for the Washington Commanders. And I think when we're just looking at this year, right? This is not a body of work conversation. This is not hey, Kyler's been around longer. He has more staying power. He has a resume that's obviously lengthier than Jayden Daniels. This is just looking at who is playing better in 2024, who is playing better this season. And for as good as Kyler Murray has been this year, and he's been excellent. And by the way, I will tell you this part, he was 11th in this week's quarterback power rankings for the Athletic. So he is 11th. These quarterbacks, these 6 quarterbacks that we're discussing on either side of him, maybe all 6 of them are in front of Kyler Murray. I will reveal that at the end of the segment, but Jaden Daniels to me is better than Kyler Murray this season. He has been better than Kyler Murray has been this season. Now, it's in large part because Jaden Daniels has to do more in that Washington offense. Jaden Daniels is asked to do more in that offense, right? Whereas with the Cardinals, they have an identity. Kyler's playing well within the structure of the offense and in that identity. He's not trying to do too much, and that's a great thing. That's one of the reasons why Kyler has been so successful this year. And Kyler has those plays, those explosive plays that we talk about, but it just feels like Jaden Daniels every single week is doing something special. And so right now, if you told me I need to go into a game on Sunday and I have to pick Jaden Daniels or Kyler Murray based on the way they're playing this year, give me Jaden Daniels. I would take Jaden Daniels right now over Kyler Murray. The next guy up for us to discuss here on this edition of Off the Fence is Kyler Murray playing better or worse this season than Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield. Now, this one's easy for me. I am a massive Baker stan. I believe Baker got ran out of Cleveland unfairly. I am enjoying the career resurgence that Baker is undergoing. I believe Baker has staying power in the National Football League. I think Baker is playing great this season. Give me Kyler Murray. Give me Kyler Murray right now over Baker Mayfield. This version of Kyler Murray versus this version of Baker Mayfield, give me Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is poised. He is calm under the pressure. He is getting rid of the football and not trying to do too much, executing the offense. Baker, even this year, sometimes it's the way that he plays. Sometimes he can do too much. Kyler used to do that in the past. Is he really doing that this year? That's an evolution for Kyler. You know what? When you evolve, that makes me feel a little bit differently about you. I would take Kyler Murray over Baker Mayfield. Now, this one is interesting. Division rival, team that's chasing down the Arizona Cardinals in the division. Is Kyler Murray playing better or worse than Brock Purdy? Is Kyler Murray this season, just this season, playing better or worse in our minds than Brock Purdy? Meaning, if you had to go win a game this Sunday, would you rather have Kyler Murray as your quarterback or would you rather have Brock Purdy as your quarterback? Just this season. Put me on Team Kyler. Put me in Kyler Murray's camp. I think Brock Purdy and his story and what he has done up to this point has been awesome. And I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he has taken a little bit of a step backwards this year. He is not the quarterback that he was last year. It's the reason why they're struggling a little bit. They've been banged up, and when you don't have all of that talent around you, a lot of it falls on you as a quarterback, and he has been able to have spurts where you see the old Brock Purdy, but there have been moments where he is not the old Brock Purdy. Whereas, again, Kyler Murray this year is the best version of himself. So if you're telling me I get the best version of Kyler Murray versus a diminished version of Brock Purdy, give me the best version of Kyler Murray for this season. If Brock Purdy's at his best, I think it's closer, and I think I would probably take Brock. But Kyler Murray right now is playing a version of football that, to me, he's better than Brock Purdy. So we've got two people that he's better than, one person that he's not, and we're going to even it up here with our next person, and that is Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts. I was kind of out on Jalen Hurts entering the season. I thought his year last year was incredibly disappointing. I thought the second half was a warning sign that maybe he had hit a bit of a wall, that he had reached his peak, and that the Eagles just signed under that contract, and he struggled. And I thought we had seen the best version of Jalen Hurts. And that's not to say that I think this year he has gotten back to the MVP level Jalen Hurts that we've seen, but he is much better than he was in 2023-24. He is better this year. And the Eagles, I thought they were dead. I thought they were going to be a doormat in the NFC East this year because I thought they had given up on their coach. I thought the culture was rotten. I just thought it was going to be a disaster this year. And it's not. They're right there. They're going to play a really important game tomorrow against the Washington Commanders. We're going to get to watch Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels battle it out for the top spot in the NFC East on Thursday night. Imagine Thursday night having good football games. Well, here we are, 2 weeks in a row for sure. We've had good football games on Thursday night. So I would take Jalen Hurts right now over Kyler Murray. I think he's playing better than he did last year. And this version of him, I think if I needed to win a game, I would take Jalen Hurts. So two more for us here to get to in this edition of Off the Fence. Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. And this is another interesting one because statistically, and I think of all the quarterbacks we've discussed, there's a lot in common between these two guys, Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert. Because statistically, I don't think you look at what Justin Herbert is doing. And I'm going to look it up just to make sure that we're not speaking out of turn here. But I don't think you look at what Justin Herbert is doing this year and you say that you're wowed by him. He's 21st in passing yards. Hasn't hit 2,000 passing yards yet. He's tied for 15th in touchdowns with 11. He only has the one interception. His QBR is 11th. It's not wowing you. That's not overwhelming. Kyler Murray 16th in yards, got 12 touchdowns, only the 3 picks. His QBR is second at a 75.7. But you look at this and it's close. And I think what makes this a fun conversation is both of these guys had new coaches brought in. For Kyler, it's been a little bit longer. But for Justin Herbert, it was this offseason with Jim Harbaugh. And the idea was, hey, we got to limit the mistakes. We have to just play within structure, play within who we are as a team. We're not trying to do too much. And so Herbert has done that. He has completely bought into the way that this team's trying to play football. And he's not putting up gaudy Madden numbers. He's not, top 5 in passing. He's 21st in passing. He's only thrown 11 touchdowns. He's not lighting up the scoreboard, but he's playing winning football. And so, to me, both of these quarterbacks have done that. They have bought into what their coaches have asked of them. And so Kyler Murray or Justin Herbert, you then have to default back. If both guys are doing something that you think is new for them, I think this is a case where you can default back to what did I think about them before this season? Because they basically have done the same thing. And I think I would take Herbert over Murray, but this is the closest one I think so far because both quarterbacks have been asked to do very similar things. In Philly, they haven't changed what they're doing with Jalen Hurts. In Washington, they have just opened up the options for Jaden Daniels, and they've opened up the offense, and they're just letting them thrive. We're going to talk about Tua here in a second. That offense doesn't work unless he's there operating it. So it's close, but I would take Herbert over Kyler Murray. And then the last one, as we mentioned, is Tua. And look, this year, give me Kyler Murray over Tua. This year, give me Kyler Murray over Tua Tagovailoa. This is a guy that has been injured. This is a guy who the team itself has not looked the best while he's been out there. I know they won on Monday night. They kept their season alive. That's very important. But this is a team that is supposed to be lighting it up defensively or offensively. This is a team that is supposed to be putting up 35, 40 points. This is a team that's supposed to set offensive records, and they're not doing it. So now I get to reveal to you, I told you that Kyler Murray was 11th. I get to reveal to you where these 6 quarterbacks fell on this post-week 11 or post-week ranking in The Athletic. Kyler Murray was 11th, like I told you. He was 12th last week. He moved up 1 spot. The 3 in front of him from this list, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels. 2 quarterbacks that we said here in this edition of Off the Fence that we would take Kyler Murray over. The 3 directly behind him, you guessed it, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, and Tua. And I think it's close. I think Hurts should probably be in front of Kyler. Jaden, I have no problem with being in front of Kyler. I think Kyler should be in front of Baker and Brock. And I think then that you're talking about Kyler Murray as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL this year. And I think that's what he has been. He has been a top 10 quarterback in the NFL this year. This is a really good version of Kyler Murray. Is it the best version? No, I don't think so. I think there is another level for him where he can combine the crazy Madden numbers and the crazy Madden plays to go along with the structure that he is playing under this season. I think there's a balance. There's a blend that he can find here over the next couple of years. But he has, I think, completely put to bed any conversation about him being the quarterback of this team beyond this season. That, to me, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Hour number 1 in the books. We start hour number 2 with this. It's the bye week. Is it the perfect time for a contract extension? That in hour number 2 of the lunch break next on KDUS AM 1060.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
License number 146316.
I'm back in action!
What in the...
Oh, Tasha! I got my magical operations license back.
Does that mean your lamp passed inspection?
Yes!
I'm so happy for you, Jeannie.
They even said that they would be responsible if anything fails for the next 500 years.
Great news.
That's the same as ASAP commercial doors. Right, Tasha?
If we inspect your door and everything is working properly, we will take responsibility for it.
Amazing!
Jeannie, why are you laughing like that?
Because now the stupid Genie High Council can go suck an egg.
Jeannie?
ASAP commercialdoors.com.
The council is a bunch of jerks.
Don't think you should say that.
Take advantage of thousands of dollars in SRP rebates and discounts on energy-efficient home upgrades like new air conditioning units, windows, ducts, and insulation. Save money on your energy bill while also making your home more comfortable. SRP's network of participating contractors can guide you from start to finish and maximize your savings by combining Inflation Reduction Act incentives with SRP rebates. Learn more at savewithsrp.com.
College football fans, Chris Fowler here with the play call. This season, go for Dose with ice cold refreshing Dos Equis. It's more than a single play, it's a mindset. Think of it as a 2-point conversion for real life. Taking the risk, making the bold move. Whenever we get the chance to go big, we take it. On the field and off, always go for Dose with Dos Equis.
Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Copyright 2024 Dos Equis Lager Especial Beer. Imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Post Malone is teaming up with Raising Cane's to empower the next generation of artists. For a limited time, 2 exclusive double-sided Post Malone posters are available at Raising Cane's. So post up your combo at Cane's while supplies last and support a good cause. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.
Ghost World Tour 2025. Ghost Theatrical Heavy Metal Arena Rock. August 11th, Footprint Center. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Ghost.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Hour number 2 of the program. We welcome you in to Lunch Break KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. We've got you for the next hour. And we start with some bye-week conversations for the Arizona Cardinals because it feels like a perfect time for a mid-season contract extension announcement for James Conner and the Arizona Cardinals. It was a week ago today that the Carolina Panthers signed their running back to a long-term contract extension. They inked Chuba Hubbard to a 4-year, $33.2 million contract extension that will take him through 2028 and his age 29 season. And so is this a guide? Is this the market resetting for a potential James Conner extension? Well, let's break it down. The Cardinals have the ability to sign James Conner to a contract extension. They currently sit with $18.3 million in cap space for this year that they can use right this second, or they can use as rollover for 2025. Right now, they have the second most projected cap room for 2025 at $101 million behind only the New England Patriots. So they have a lot of cap space to operate. That is another reason to give credit to Monty Ossenfort and this front office for the job that they have been able to do because they have rebuilt this team. And they have a quarterback who next year in 2025 is going to carry a $43.3 million cap hit. He is going to account for $43 million of the cap for this team in 2025. And yet they have all of this cap space. They have $18 million right now. They have $101 million this offseason. They have built this roster out with young players. They have developed these young players into contributors. Are they perfect? No. Is there a lot of work to be done? Absolutely. But they have the resources to do so. They have $101 million right now in projected cap going into this offseason. You don't think that Monty Ossenfort can do some damage with $101 million in the offseason? You don't think that this team can't get even better with the draft picks that this team has, the cap space that they have? They have all the resources that you would want to have as a general manager. Tons of cap space and all the draft picks. They're picking in the first round. They're picking in the second round. They have the ability to explore every single avenue to make their team better for 2025. So they have put themselves into a really nice situation with their drafting, their developing, their coaching, to have a roster of young players that can assemble the core of what you are doing. And I think that cap space, $101 million for next year, the 18 that they have right now, is the launching point for us to have this James Conner conversation. James Conner is 29 years old right now. I don't think you need me to give you the history of running backs over the age of 30 and what happens to them as they go to 30, to 31, to 32, as they get older. We don't need to do that. The track record isn't very good for long-term success. So they can do this from a financial perspective. They have the resources to do so, but they do need to be smart about it. Chuba Hubbard, the name that we invoked at the top of the segment, is a younger player, 28. They're paying him through his age 29 season. They signed him through 2028. He signed through his age 29 season. So a younger player. His contract extension is going to end at the age where James Conner is right now, trying to get a contract extension. It's not apples to apples. There is another running back who signed a contract extension recently that is more apples to apples. Got to go down to New Orleans. Look at Alvin Kamara. At the end of October, about a week before Halloween, he signed a 2-year, $23.5 million contract extension with the New Orleans Saints that's going to have him play there through his age 31 season. Now, if you pull up the contract anywhere on Over the Cap or Spotrac, there's going to be a lot of void years. The money, it's all nonsense. It's all just things that teams do, but more importantly, the Saints do on a pretty regular basis to massage the cap and somewhat have flexibility, although the Saints don't really have a ton of flexibility. So don't mind just pay no attention to all that. They signed him to a 2-year contract extension. He is going to play his age 30 and age 31 seasons in New Orleans. That's what the contract extension did. It locked him up through his age 31 season. It moved some of the money around the way that he got it, the way that it counted against the cap for the Saints. So it was a cost thing for them. It changed some of the mechanics of the cap for them. But at the end of the day, for the sake of this conversation, it put Alvin Kamara in a position to play for the next 2 seasons, his age 30 and age 31 season with the New Orleans Saints. Well, that's exactly what James Conner would do on an extension with the Arizona Cardinals. So 2 years, $23.5 million breaks down to an annual average value of $11.75 million for Alvin Kamara. That has all those void years and caveats and money being reallocated. The Cardinals don't have to do any of that. They can offer a just nice, clean contract extension. They don't need to pull any of this cap voodoo and add void years and do all that stuff. They can just offer a clean contract extension for 2 seasons and not have to worry about paying him in year 3 and year 4 because of all the cap space that they have. Now, this season, Alvin Kamara, a better player than James Conner. It's close, but Kamara has better statistics. I don't want to take anything away from James Conner, but it's important for the value conversation. Spotrac, we've mentioned them a bunch here today on the show. They have his market value, James Conner that is, at around $10 million. Derrick Henry, this past offseason, signed a 2-year, $16 million deal, 8 per year, at age 30. Aaron Jones signed a 1-year, $7 million deal at age 29. Would you, as a Cardinals fan, sign up for a 2-year, $20 million deal for James Conner that brought him through his age 31 season? Would you do it? Normally, I don't like paying running backs near the top of the market. And $10 million a season for a running back feels like it can be a little pricey. It feels like it could age poorly. But here's why I think this makes total sense. You're not really resetting the market in a big way. You're right in line with Alvin Kamara. You're right in line with Derrick Henry. It's in line with what the going rate is for these players. And it's a short-term commitment. It's a 2-year, maybe at most a 3-year commitment. It keeps the culture setter of your offense. It keeps the figurehead of your offense. It keeps the leader of your offense. And oh, by the way, it provides you the perfect platform to continue that development of young players that we talked about with Trey Benson. I could very easily see over the course of a 2 or 3 year contract extension for James Conner that at the beginning, he's the workhorse, he's the bell cow. Trey Benson is the complementary piece. And over the course of that 2 or 3 year contract, it completely flips. And then Trey Benson is the workhorse, he's the bell cow, and James Conner is the complementary piece. You are not paying James Conner on a 2 or 3 year contract extension to be a top 5 running back for the entire length of that contract. You are paying him because he is a linchpin of your team. You are paying him because he's a leader of your offense. He is the guy who sets the culture, but you are also paying him because he is the perfect mentor towards his eventual replacement in Trey Benson. And it puts you in the perfect spot to play this out over the long term. So get this done. Normally they like to announce these things during a bye week. This is the perfect time, the perfect chance to get this done. If not now, it's okay, but James Conner should be back next season. And I've given the roadmap of how it can be done. Coming up on the other side, it's one of the needs of the team. So who's actually available? That's next on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Football fans, it's Mellow Monday, so join the Rooster at Mellow Mushroom off the I-17 and Happy Valley Road between 5 and 6 p.m. every Monday night during football season.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona.
We never thought home could feel like this. When we moved, we thought we'd have to choose between the space we needed for our growing family or living in a location that fit our lifestyle. We were so lucky to find this Fulton Homes community right here in Queen Creek, my hometown. When we saw how incredible Barney Farms was, we could see our future here. The quality of the home, the endless green parks, the trails, the pools, the lake. There's just so much to love. It really is like a dream. Both our parents even found a place here. Spending more time with them has been so special. It feels like none of us had to compromise. There's so much to do here. There's something for everyone. To have 3 generations of family together in one neighborhood, it feels like we found something that's been missing. In this market, you don't imagine that you can find a community like Barney Farms. We feel so lucky.
Fulton Homes. You're proud to own. We're proud to build.
This holiday season, the Arizona Lottery is celebrating the little things with holiday scratchers like joy, happiness, giving, and a dash of fun. With the chance to win up to $500,000 and an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii with the Hawaiian Holiday Giveaway. Give the gift of joy with Arizona Lottery's Holiday Scratchers. Visit ArizonaLottery.com to find a retailer near you.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After coming off one of the better offensive situations we've ever seen for a number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears have struggled on offense. In an attempt to save the season and perhaps save his job, head coach Matt Eberflus officially decided to part ways with first-year offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. On the surface, positive growth does seem plausible for an offense that's averaged just under 20 points per game. However, over the last 15 years, history has shown that improvement is far from guaranteed when changing play callers. In fact, since 2010, teams who have fired an offensive coordinator midseason have experienced an uptick in production only around 50% of the time. The Bears are sitting at 4-5. They play in the toughest division in football, and they've admittedly had very few ways to save the season. But if history's any indication, we may not want to hold our breath on the Bears' offense improving overnight. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. 90% of hiring decision makers expect to face hiring challenges this year. It's clear that hiring is difficult, but what if somebody could post a job, sift through resumes, and then take care of the interviews for you? That's what Express Employment Professionals does every single day. They make hiring easy, and they are in your neighborhood so they can work directly with local business owners. Go to expresspros.com. Find the location nearest you. That's expresspros.com. You know our trusted partner, TireRack.com, for their fast, free shipping, free road hazard protection, convenient installation options, and their great selection of the best tires like the highly consumer-rated Toyo Open Country AT3. But did you know they sell other automotive products? Wheels, brakes, and suspension, just to name a few. Everything you need to elevate your drive. You can go to TireRack.com/Dan. That's TireRack.com/Dan. TireRack.com, the way tire buying should be.
I'll turn those picks into gold.
Wall-to-wall NFL coverage and the biggest stories coming to you from 3 to 5 p.m. The Rich Eisen Show here on KDUS AM 1060 and KDUS1060.com.
Welcome back to the show, the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. We appreciate you joining us here today on the program. I had to during the last break, and I'll take everybody a little bit behind the curtain here. I've got producer Dylan Watt. I've got 7 screens in front of me. I have the board with all of the sound on it. I have the board that shows me all the commercials that are coming up. I have my tablet that has the show notes on it. I have the computer that's running the live stream. I have the secondary monitor that's showing me one of the cameras. I have a lot going on. And while I'm doing the show, the only time I ever feel comfortable is if I have a pen in my hand. Like, I have to have something to fidget with throughout the course of the show. And I just did the first hour and change of the show without a pen in my hand. And every single break, I said to myself, go to your office, get the pen that's on your desk. And for the last hour and change, I did not do that. I went during the last break to get the pen. I just feel so much better. I feel incredibly more comfortable than I did. The cameras being in my face doesn't bother me. All the equipment that I got to deal with here, none of it bothers me. I don't have a pen in my hand. I feel like I'm lost. I don't know how to do the show without the pen being in my hand. No idea. So we're back. The next 45 minutes are going to be Radio Gold now because I'm comfortable. It's going to be a great close to the Wednesday edition of the program. We appreciate you joining us. And if you want to join the conversation, 480-864-1060 is the phone number. Back to some Diamondbacks conversation. I think it is valuable to put some names and faces to the pursuits that the Diamondbacks are going to undergo this offseason. I think it's reasonable to discuss the options that the Diamondbacks are going to be pursuing, whether that's at first base, whether it's at DH, whether it's relief pitching, whatever it is. I think it's fair to set a level of these are the players that are available. This is what the market looks like, and it can be somewhat of a choose your own adventure. You can say, oh, I didn't know that player was a free agent. I'd really like him. Or, oh, no, I definitely don't want that player on the Diamondbacks next season. So that you can put faces and names to the off-season pursuits. So one of the things that this team is going to address in some capacity is the designated hitter. Last year, it was Jock Peterson. And I think we would be foolish to not say that a reunion is possible. We can't rule it out. A reunion could be on the table for the Diamondbacks and Jock Peterson. And among the true DH options, and what I mean by that are guys that if they see the field, you're going to be incredibly scared. Like, you don't want these guys anywhere near a position. Most of the time, there's somebody that if in a pinch, you can stick in a corner outfield spot and you don't necessarily worry about. But overall, you'd rather them just be the DH, be the designated hitter. Don't play defense. Among those options, so not taking somebody who was a second baseman last year and making them your DH, or taking a corner outfielder and just saying, hey, you're going to play some corner outfield, but you're also going to be our DH, and we'll get into that here over the course of the conversation. Among the true DH options, Jock Peterson was the best last season. Accounted for a 3 WAR, so 3 wins above replacement. The next best player among this group was worth 1.3 WAR. So Jock Peterson worth more than double the next best free agent solely DH option. And I'll tell you, in looking at this group, the options, a real mixed bag. There are some players that I can convince myself would be interesting fits for the Diamondbacks, like a Jock Peterson reunion. And then there are other players that I go, boy, would that probably be a disaster. If Peterson is considered too pricey, remember he opted out of his deal with the Diamondbacks. I think there's a player that can provide very similar value in 2025 to what Jock Peterson would provide, is a lefty bat, has pop, and I think would be a fraction of the cost. And that would be Jesse Winker, who played for the Mets last year, played for the Nationals, has played for the Brewers, has played for a bunch of different teams in his MLB career. He could play outfield in a pinch. It's kind of the way you felt about Jock Peterson. You could maybe stick him out there if you needed to. You don't want to. Certainly would be a defensive replacement late in those games. But he is a lefty bat. So if they wanted to stick with the lefty bat like they had last year with Jock Peterson, Jesse Winker would suffice there. Would be a cheaper version of Jock Peterson while being able to provide power, provide doubles. He provides an energy and an enthusiasm that you're not going to see anywhere else. He is the player that you love having on your team and you hate when you face him. He's that type of player. He's the wrestling heel, and he plays it up. He understands his role. He understands the person that he is for these teams. So you have that you can add to the mix. Sometimes it's good to have that type of presence in your clubhouse. Eloy Jimenez is available, 28 years old. He is one of, if not the youngest option amongst this group. So you could convince yourself that maybe there's some untapped potential there. He's not a 33, 34, 35-year-old veteran option that you basically know what you're going to get. He's 28. Maybe there's still some potential there. Maybe there's still some room to grow there. Maybe Gary Sanchez is interesting to you. Basically a glorified DH at this point. Sometimes played catcher last year for the Minnesota Twins, but I don't think you want him to do that on a regular basis. Also played for the Brewers. Last year he was with the Brewers. He's also been with the Twins, with the Yankees to start his career. Maybe old friend Tommy Pham interests you. Maybe you want to sign 40-year-old Justin Turner. Are you understanding the message I'm trying to send here in this segment? Do you understand what I'm trying to say here? I'm trying to show you that these options are not very good. I could be convinced with Jesse Winker. I could be convinced with Eloy Jimenez. Those are two players I could hop on board with. These other options, and I didn't mention that, like Eddie Rosario was an option. I didn't mention him. I now did, but he wasn't on the short list that I put together here for the segment. Gary Sanchez, Tommy Pham, 40-year-old Justin Turner, who didn't have a great second half last year. I know I'm good. I'm good. I'd rather figure it out with internal options than sign any of those guys. So we can't just give up. We can't just say there's no answer here. We can't just say the Diamondbacks will not be able to pursue a DH option. There is an answer. And the answer is to speed along a process that I think everybody thought was going to play out over the lifetime of the contract. When the Diamondbacks signed Lourdes Gurriel Jr. to the extension last offseason after they made the run to the World Series, when they re-signed him to what was, I believe, a 3-year deal. I think the idea of that deal was he was not going to see that out in a corner outfield spot, that he was going to see that out as the DH, and that somebody else would be manning the corner outfield spot. So you can expedite that process. You could bring somebody in that is a corner outfielder who can also be the DH and split the time maybe 50-50 or platoon it or just be able to get Gurriel off his feet every so often. You can kind of slowly get yourself to the place of where I think we all thought this was going to end up when Gurriel signed his 3-year extension. So when you look at corner outfielders, a lot of options, a lot of great options. Some options that would be priced out of the Diamondbacks more than likely, but other options that I think would be right in their price range and fit maybe what they did last year with the position. To me, if you're going to do this, if you're going to sign a corner outfielder, have them be in left field and move Gurriel to the DH, and then maybe you can flip them every so often to give the corner outfielder some rest. The player that I would be all in on, the player that I would be doing everything in my power to get into this ballpark would be Tyler O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill went to the Red Sox last year, played corner outfield for them, mashed home runs, missed time and still mashed. I believe he got to 30, and he crushed the ball last year. You bring that player with that type of talent, that type of power, into Chase Field. I mean, he had 61 RBIs in 113 games last year, hit 241, hit 31 home runs. That'll get it done. Anthony Santander could be an option, probably would cost too much. Defense kind of puts you in the same spot as Gurriel, so I don't know if you're going to want either one of those guys manning there long term. Alex Verdugo provides you better defense. He provides some pop with some doubles. He is a lefty bat, can play in the corners. Michael Conforto, another lefty that could work. You see how that's probably the path that this team should go down? All of those options. Tyler O'Neill, Alex Verdugo, Michael Conforto, all options that are infinitely better than Eloy Jimenez, Jesse Winker, or Jock Peterson. I would rather have all the guys that I mentioned. Tyler O'Neill would be atop the wish list. Alex Verdugo would be a nice defensive first option for you, but also can provide some pop, is a lefty, and can play every day in the corner outfield spot to move Gurriel to the DH. So you got to get creative. When you're dealing with limited resources, you have to get creative. And I think this is a chance to be creative. So those are some of the names. And there are others. The corner outfield market is way more expansive and extensive than the DH. I just provided you 4 names that could make some sense for the Diamondbacks. So there are options out there. There is opportunity for Mike Hazen to improve this group. Now he's got to go out there and sign. Coming up on the other side, ASU was unable to crack the top 25, but opportunity awaits this program. That's next in the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Check out the Doug Gottlieb Show, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on KDUS AM 1060.
Here in Flagstaff, Arizona, there are only 2 colors that matter: blue and gold. Head coach Brian Wright leads NAU football into a new era.
Down the sideline, it's going to be a pick 6.
Join us Saturday. The Lumberjacks visit Greeley for a showdown versus the Northern Colorado Bears. Our coverage begins at 11 a.m.
NAU football on AM 1060 KDUS.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Award based on 2024 models for J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information. Visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $2,860 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/2/24.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Attention! Want to lose up to 15 pounds by this time next month? Now you can with semaglutide from Red Mountain Weight Loss. Get the same ingredients you'd find in the expensive brand name drugs for half the price at Red Mountain Weight Loss. For over 30 years, Red Mountain Weight Loss has been the leader in medical weight loss, providing quality medications and expert medical support. Our medications are all tested by an accredited and FDA-inspected lab, so you can trust the source. And our clinical team can help you with the tools to speed your weight loss. Why pay more when you can pay less for the same results? Get injectable semaglutide, the exact same ingredient found in the expensive brand names you've seen Oprah talk about, for a fraction of the cost. Lose up to 15 pounds by this time next month and look great in time for the holidays. Ask about our interest-free financing for payments that'll fit your budget. Red Mountain Weight Loss. Quality medications, expert support, faster results. Go to redmountainweightloss.com. That's redmountainweightloss.com.
Bringing you the latest sports topics weekly right here on KDUS AM 1060 with me, the Doug Gottlieb Show, 1 to 3 p.m.
The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. We appreciate you joining us here today on the program. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join the conversation. And if you're listening on the KDUS AM 1060 app, make sure you are registered. Make sure you're logged in while you're listening so you have an opportunity to win a $100 gift card to Von Hansen's. We're pulling our next winner on Friday. So if you're listening on the app and you're not logged in and registered, what are you doing? Register, log in, be listening. You have an opportunity to win something for doing what you're already doing, which is listening to the program. And if you are listening someplace else and not listening on the app, I mean, an even bigger, what are you doing? Come on. Join us on the app. You can take the show with you anywhere you go, and you can also have an opportunity to win some prizes. We got a college football playoff ranking last night, our second of the 2024 season. But before we do that, was putting together the show today, and I saw that they announced the Walter Camp Player of the Year semifinalists in college football. And so, obviously not the Heisman, but it is the Player of the Year award, the Walter Camp Player of the Year award. And I saw the tweet, and there's a lot of semifinalists, a lot of them. A lot of them. There's 12, 14, 16 names. It was lengthy. I had to hit the see more on the tweet to get more of the names. You know whose name I didn't see in that list? I didn't see Cam Scadaboo's name. Who, by the way, Kenny Dillingham announced today that it looks like he's going to be ready to go for Saturday's contest with Kansas State. So we're going to talk a little bit about that Kansas State matchup here in just a second, but a huge boost for this team at a key time of the season for them. You got a guy who's top 10 in rushing yards among running backs in only 8 games. You have a guy who's got 13 total touchdowns, and he's winning Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week awards on a regular basis. What has he won it 4 times, 5 times already? He's played in 8 games. He's won the award 4 times. Nah, not a Walter Camp Player of the Year semifinalist. That feels like a bit of a gross oversight. So another week, another college football playoff ranking, ASU not in this one. And I think we were trying to give everybody hope yesterday. I was certainly cautiously optimistic that they might sneak in there at 25 or 24, but it shouldn't be that surprising. They were on the outside looking in last week. And if you're going to make that type of jump, if you're going to get into the top 25, you have to have a marquee game, a marquee performance, a performance that is somewhat resume defining, right? You can add to these are the key wins. And no offense to this team, but a close win at home against a not so great this year UCF team, I don't think adds to the resume for ASU in a way that launches them into the top 25. It's just not the game that the committee would look at and go, oh, we were on the fence about ASU, but you know what? They took care of business against UCF, put them in. It's not that type of performance. You upset Georgia, you beat BYU, you beat Miami. I mean, you talk about the top teams in college football this year. You beat one of those teams. That's the type of performance that you need to have in order to break through the top 25. But there's good news, though. Despite them not being in the top 25, there is good news. The fact that we are even having this conversation on November 13th, 2024, we are discussing an Arizona State football program that could be in consideration for a college football playoff ranking spot. Now, not in the playoff, not a top 12 seed, but we are talking about a team that could be ranked in the college football playoff rankings. And I sound like a broken record on this. I've said this before. This is not the first time I've gone on this rant, but I think it's important to emphasize. Remember where this program was when Kenny Dillingham took over. Think about it. Take a second and think about where you were when the announcement came across your social media account, or you saw it on television, or you saw his press conference, and you knew that Kenny Dillingham was taking over as the head coach for Arizona State University. Think about where you were. And while you're thinking about that, think about where the program was at the time. Think about what that last year of the Pac-12 looked like with Kenny Dillingham. Think about what last year looked like, what it felt like, the uphill battle that you thought you were going to have to deal with the recruiting violations, with the changing of conferences, with everything that was going on. Think about the journey that you thought Kenny Dillingham and this program were going to have to overcome. They moved conferences from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. They used the portal to their advantage and made wholesale roster changes. And they went from a team that was projected to finish last in the Big 12. Go look up the preseason football rankings for the Big 12. They were voted to finish last. They're closer to finishing first in the Big 12 this year than they are to finishing last. They are closer to the top of the Big 12. How about this? How about this for a take in 2024? They're closer to being a college football playoff team than they are to being the worst team in the Big 12. Think about that. That is what Kenny Dillingham has done in such a short amount of time. So the fact that we even get to have this conversation in the middle of November is awesome. It's amazing. What's even more awesome, what's even more amazing is this team has the opportunity. They have the next 2 weeks, the matchups that are marquee matchups, that are those resume-defining wins. These are the types of games upcoming that put you in the conversation for the top 25. And it all starts this weekend when they take on Kansas State. It's a Big 12 opponent. It's a college football playoff ranked team. I believe they're 16th in the latest update to the rankings. A team that is directly in front of the Sun Devils in terms of the CFP, but also in terms of the Big 12. Because you're looking at this and you don't have to go undefeated anymore to make the college football playoff. You win a conference, you're in there. So the Sun Devils, if they somehow run the table and get themselves into a Big 12 title game, they'd be playing for a spot in the college football playoff. I think that's unlikely, but it's possible. Again, they're closer to that than they are the bottom of the table. So you win this game, you go on the road and beat a top 20, almost top 15 program in college football right now. The 16th ranked Kansas State program. Yeah. Next Tuesday, on next Wednesday's show, we're going to be talking about a top 25 ranked ASU program. 8-2, defeated a ranked opponent, moved up in the Big 12. Absolutely. We will be talking about a ranked ASU football team. And then we'll be talking about a ranked ASU football team getting ready to take on a top 10 BYU ranked team. You will be able to achieve something if you win this game on Saturday against Kansas State. You will be able to accomplish something that nobody thought was going to be on the table this year. You can accomplish something that I don't know if people thought was going to be on the table next year. When Kenny Dillingham was hired, let's go back in. Let's remember again when Kenny Dillingham was hired. Let's play this game out again. When Kenny Dillingham was hired, the state that the program was in, truly, ask yourself, think to yourself, how long did you think it would take for ASU to reach the level of being a solid winning program again? How long did you think it would take? Because if you were acting in good faith, you would say it would take at least 3 years for that to happen, for that turnaround to take place. Year one, Kenny has to get in there. He has to untangle everything about this. He has to pull on every thread of yarn. He has to fix everything about this program. This program, when Kenny Dillingham took over, was rock bottom. Not his fault. And I'm not necessarily even throwing shade at the previous regime. I'm just telling it like it was. It was in a bad place. So you have to get in there in year one, and you just have to just look around and just see, okay, what's still left standing here? What do I have to fix? What needs to change? The answer was a lot. In year two, you were going to have to transition from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. So year one, you have to untangle all of this. Year two, you have to make a transition to a brand new conference, brand new opponents, new travel, new everything. Year three is supposed to be the year that things start to trend upward. Year one, we got to clean it up. Year two, we make a transition, so it might not even look good on the record because we're in transition now. We've changed conferences. It's just a mess. I gotta get through this. Year 3, you start to get your recruiting classes in there. Now you can start to make some headway. This program, this coaching staff, this leadership, these players looked at that 3-year plan, and they said, we're good. We're fine. Don't need 3 years. We'll do it in less. It's like somebody, you try to build a house, and they ask you how long it's going to take, and the builder tells you it's going to take this amount of time. You go to another builder, and that builder says, "Nah, we'll do it in less time, and it'll be a better house." That's what this ASU team said to those expectations, because 3 years was incredibly realistic. It was a fair amount of time for Kenny Dillingham to try to overturn this, to try to push this program in the right direction. 3 years was incredibly fair. And you were going to have to take your lumps. And here we are, not even through year 2, talking about a team that's playing a game on Saturday that could put them in the college football playoff rankings and put them in conversation to potentially make a run in the Big 12. Do I still think that would be the favorite in Vegas? No. Their chances of making the Big 12 championship game, I think, are like 7 or 8%. It's still low. But you know what? Every win you get the rest of the way, those chances, they go up and up and up. And no matter what happens, this season cannot be taken away from this program, because they did something that nobody thought was possible in year 2. I'm ready to go. I need the game to be tonight. I am ready to go. This is the most important game that ASU football has played in what? 3 years? At least? This could change the fortunes of this entire season. And so, yeah, they didn't make the college football playoff last night, but they have something that they have asked for since Kenny Dillingham got here. They want an opportunity. Well, guess what? They have an opportunity the next 2 weeks. They have an opportunity on Saturday in a big way. And so we'll see if they'll be able to get that done on Saturday when they take on Kansas State. On the other side, we wrap up this edition of The Lunch Break. It's The Leftovers. We do it next. The Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060.
Hey, Phoenix, Doug Gottlieb here. I'm bringing the best sports talk weekdays to you, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on KDUS AM 1060.
Planning to propose this holiday? Shane Company is ready to help you find your dream engagement ring. We handpick the most beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones in all shapes and sizes. So when you walk in the door, you can trust your rock is in stock. At Shane Company, we've always sourced directly, cut out the middleman, and pass the savings on to you. We work with your budget, not against it. We'll also protect your ring for life with our free unmatched lifetime warranty. Come see us at shaneco.com and in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When an injured worker left me a message that said, "You probably won't call me back. I'm just a nobody," I called him right back. Nobody's a nobody, and no one deserves a better firm than you.
When Morgan said nobody is a nobody, I felt like that. And they took care of me, and now we're doing okay. Thank God that I went to Morgan & Morgan.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, their Snap Secure dental implants will let you eat and speak with confidence at a price that's affordable. So if you think you can't afford dental implants, think again. Their 6 practices in the Phoenix area are open to serve you. Schedule a free new smile consultation by calling 1-800-DENTURE or visit AffordableDentures.com. That's 1-800-DENTURE or visit AffordableDentures.com to find the practice near you. Schedule your new smile consultation today. Services provided by an Arizona licensed general dentist. Affordable Dentures and Implants. Go ahead and smile.
Go ahead and smile.
Shop the best deals of the year during the Living Spaces Black Friday event, where you'll save big on designs for your home. Find sofas for as low as $395, dining sets starting at $295, queen beds starting at $195, and rugs, accessories, and home decor at unbelievable prices. Plus, pay no interest for 24 months on select purchases with your good credit. And get it all before Thanksgiving with free shipping as soon as next day. Only at the Living Spaces Black Friday event.
Living Spaces.
Catch the Doug Gottlieb Show weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m. right here on KDUS AM 1060 and online at KDUS1060.com.
Back to wrap up today's edition of the Lunch Break. KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. We appreciate you joining us here today on the program. You want to get in, last call, 480-864-1060 is the phone number. And the leftovers, where we get to all of the stories that we didn't get to throughout the course of the show. And we're going back to the Diamondbacks because they have already made an off-season addition. They got themselves a new pitching coach yesterday. They hired Brian Kaplan, who was a member of the Philadelphia Phillies, has been with them for a long time. He was with Philly, the club's assistant pitching coach and director of pitching. And look, in today's Major League Baseball, you will see a lot of teams have somebody like a director of pitching or director of hitting, and that is for the analytics, the pitching lab, the hitting lab, these advanced machines that everybody's been using. Just player development is what it boils down to. And Kaplan used to work with a sports performance place in Florida that was popular among players. He was huge for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's the first time in 5 years that somebody has been hired away from the Phillies major league staff. So they pay their people really well to try to keep them there in Philly because they want to create a player development pipeline. And the Diamondbacks got to steal away Brian Kaplan. And there was a story written up on The Athletic, and you read the story, and there's a lot of praise heaped onto Kaplan. Talks about the advancements that the Phillies made with biomechanics and changes in the way they developed pitchers and the way that he deals with pitchers and their agents. There were some free agent pitchers and agents that talked about the Zoom meetings that they've had with Kaplan, who they raved about. This just feels like a home run move for the Diamondbacks, mainly because Kaplan, while he was with Philly, we talked about those biomechanics stuff that he worked with, but also helped change the way the Phillies developed pitchers, basically the whole development process. And in today's game, you have to have a development pipeline. It is not just minor leagues and you work on stuff and then you get promoted up to the big leagues. There is work that is done all year long. There is process. There is training regimens. There are tweaks that you can make. There is so much work that is done. You see teams all over the place right now investing in pitching labs, basically just these big, huge buildings where they have these incredibly expensive machines that allow pitchers to break everything down. Just break it down to the smallest of margins to be able to see what a small change in spin rate or the way they grip a ball or learning a new pitch, what it can do to everything about them. And you are seeing teams, the Dodgers do this really well. The Mets do this really well. The Yankees, the Rays, the Astros, these big money organizations, but also these small market organizations that are at the forefront of advanced analytics and advanced player development stuff. You see these teams have stuff like this. The Diamondbacks hiring somebody who is in charge of overseeing that and helped make changes to how the Phillies develop pitchers. You bring that person in who players rave about, who free agents rave about, who agents say handled himself well. That's a nice win for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And so before they've signed a free agent, before they've made an addition to their roster, it looks as though, and I'm not going to try to pull the wool over everybody's eyes here and tell you that I knew anything about Brian Kaplan. I'm not going to say that. I'm just telling you that the early returns, the early indications are the Diamondbacks hired a good pitching coach yesterday. And they hired somebody who's in line with a forward-thinking approach to the way baseball is played in 2025 and beyond. That's good. That is a nice thing for this organization to do. Where it may have an impact to this team this offseason, pay attention to those relievers that were with Philly. Pay attention to Carlos Estevez. Pay attention to Jeff Hoffman. Pay attention to those who have had ties to the Philadelphia Phillies while Kaplan was there. Because if they liked working with Kaplan and they liked the training schedule that he put them on, the regime that he put them on, the work that he did, the plans that he was able to create with some of these players, the improvements that he was able to make, if what we are hearing about Kaplan is true, that might be the difference when the Diamondbacks go to the negotiating table this offseason. If they want to talk to Carlos Estevez, who's a higher leverage reliever arm, we've said that that's a thing this team needs to address this offseason, knowing that they've got the guy who was the director of pitching and the assistant pitching coach, if Kaplan had a good relationship with Carlos Estevez and the money's right, that might be the deciding factor. So pay attention to those things. Pay attention to who has worked with Kaplan in the past. So that's where this might make an impact in free agency. It will make an impact because we will get to see, he might come in there and evaluate all these pitchers and say, hey, you're not doing this, you should do this. Hey, do you have this pitch? Do you throw a sinker? Let me see what a sinker looks like. And you'll see guys in the offseason, they'll work on adding pitches. And what Kaplan's going to come in here and do, just like any new coach who comes into a position, he's going to get in here, he's going to evaluate and talk to everybody. He's going to talk to Zach Allen. He's going to talk to Jordan Montgomery. He's going to talk to Merrill Kelly. He's going to talk to Justin Martinez. He's going to talk to AJ Puck. He's going to talk to all these guys. And he's going to probably come to the table with a list of things of, hey, what if we tried this? Or have you thought about doing this? And he's going to be able, with every single one of these pitchers, come up with an individual specific plan for all these guys to improve. It'll be exciting to see what Brian Kaplan has up his sleeve for this team this offseason. But getting rave reviews and the immediate feedback from those in the know are the Phillies lost somebody that they believe pretty strongly in. He was the director of pitching. He oversaw all of the pitching development for the Phillies across their entire organization. You bring somebody like that in there, Phillies have been a good baseball team. I like bringing that type of knowledge over there, and it could make an impact here in the offseason. Speaking of the Diamondbacks, Ketel Marte yesterday won his first Silver Slugger Award to go along with being named a finalist for the NL MVP. I think he'll probably fall short in that pursuit. He, along with Francisco Lindor and Shohei Ohtani, named the finalists for the NL MVP. It feels like it's Shohei Ohtani, Francisco Lindor, and Ketel Marte as the 1, 2, 3. Felt like there for a little bit that Ketel Marte was going to be able to threaten Ohtani, but Ohtani continued to be on a 50-50 pace and eclipse 50-50. And then Marte missed some time, and Lindor kind of passed him with that hot August and September that he was able to put together. And so it just felt like the Ketel Marte MVP campaign fell short, ran out of gas there at the end, and he'll probably end up finishing third amongst those three. But a fantastic season for a guy that I still think is underrated in the bigger context of baseball. I don't know if enough people talk about how good Ketel Marte is, because there was a brief moment there during the season where Ketel Marte could have made the case for being the MVP because he was playing some really good defense along with being toe-to-toe with Ohtani offensively. And so when you're able to do that in a year in which a guy had 50-50, first time we've ever seen it, that's impressive. And hopefully him doing that and him being a finalist and him winning his first Silver Slugger, people start talking a little bit more about Ketel Marte in the larger context of baseball, because this is one of the best players that this game has to offer. He is the key of this team. One of the best moves Mike Hazen's ever made since coming to this organization was getting Ketel Marte, bringing him in this building, because he's just been awesome for this organization. He's been their MVP. He's been their star. He has been their culture builder, whatever phrase you want to use. He's been the guy. He's been the man. So wins his first Silver Slugger and is a finalist for the NL MVP. It'll be interesting to see if people don't vote Ohtani number one, and it'll probably be unanimous, but I wonder if somebody doesn't give it to Ohtani, who they would give it to out of Lindor or Marte, because I do think it's close. They might err with Lindor because of what he did down the stretch, but I think Marte in a different year would get more consideration than he's going to because of just how great Shohei Ohtani was. And it's going to be annoying because every single year you can probably name Ohtani as a finalist for the MVP. I have a hockey story, and I was afraid to do this because hockey's still a bit of a sore subject here in the state of Arizona for a lot of reasons. But we talked yesterday on the program about the hot start that the Cleveland Cavaliers were on. And if you missed that, the Cavs have started the year, and I'm just going to check to make sure that I have the numbers correct. They have started the year 12-0, and they play the 76ers tonight, who are 2-8. And oh, by the way, they're not playing Paul George and Joel Embiid. So it looks like they have a nice clear path to make it 13-0. And you may think to yourself, man, that's incredibly impressive. And I would agree with you. Starting a season 12-0 is incredibly impressive. Has anybody seen what the Winnipeg Jets have done over their first 16 games this season? I only saw this last night. They played the New York Rangers, and they beat the Rangers 6-3. And I follow the NHL, so when all the scores go final, I see the graphic with the scores, and like, all right, the Winnipeg Jets, they're good. They beat the Rangers. Rangers are a good team. I think they're 9-4-3 to start the year. 9-4-1, excuse me. Okay. And then I saw the record underneath the Winnipeg Jets, and I thought it was a typo. They're 15-1 in their first 16 games. They have 30 of a possible 32 points to start the season in hockey. The next closest team's got 24 points. They're a full 2 games clear, points-wise, of the New Jersey Devils, who have 24 points. The Minnesota Wild have 23 points in the Western Conference. And again, I know hockey is a sore subject here in town. I get it. A team in hockey, the most physical of all the sports, the most physical of all of the sports, they've gone out there and they are 15-1 to start the season. I thought yesterday's 12-0 for the Cavs was impressive. I mean, the Cavs, they're playing in an Eastern Conference that we talked about yesterday is not very good. An Eastern Conference that got like 3 teams above 500. The Winnipeg Jets are 15-1, and I don't care who you play. It's hockey. You're getting beat up for 60 minutes. Getting beat up every single night. The Winnipeg Jets say, please, can I have some more? As they are 15-1 to start the year. Absolutely incredible. Speaking of the NBA, we learned that Greg Popovich was going to be taking some time away from the San Antonio Spurs. We didn't know why. They just said it was a undisclosed medical episode. That's never good on its own, right? It's never good when coach is going to miss time. We know Greg Popovich is older, and then they describe it as an undisclosed medical episode. That's not great. Well, we learned today that the team put this out, that he is recovering after he suffered what the team is describing as a mild stroke on November 2nd. Now, he's 75 years old. He is the NBA's winningest head coach. He is the oldest head coach in NBA history at 75. Mitch Johnson, who's 37, is acting as the Spurs head coach through this absence, and he's going to coach them for the foreseeable future. And Greg Popovich, first of all, glad that he is hopefully doing okay. The statement that they said he's expected to make a full recovery. Who cares the next time he coaches for the San Antonio Spurs? Furthest thing from everybody's mind. But when you hear that he had an undisclosed medical episode, you get a little worried. And then you see what it was, a mild stroke at 75 years old. Like, that's scary. That's scary stuff. So glad to hear that he is recovering from this stroke, that he's doing well, that he's expected to make a full recovery, because Greg Popovich, again, who cares if he comes back to basketball? One of just the greatest coaches to ever coach in the NBA, provided a ton of banter on the sidelines, and hopefully at some point we get back to that banter that he provides with those in-game interviews. But a scary piece of news the other day, and glad to hear that he is recovering. And our thoughts and wishes and prayers go to Greg Popovich as he recovers from that stroke that he suffered back on November. Scary stuff sometimes in sports. You know, it's stories like that make you realize that these are just games. They don't really mean anything in the bigger picture. And we can yell and argue for 2 hours here about a bunch of stuff on the show. That story that we just closed the show with shows you there's a lot bigger things going on in life and in the world. That is going to do it for us here on this edition of the show. We appreciate you for joining us. Producer Dylan, thank you for all that you do. We are back tomorrow. Everybody make it a great rest of your Wednesday. See ya.